Welcome to a Commander Countdown with the Nitpicking Nerds.
This time, top 15 enchantments in the whole format.
I'm your host, COVID-free Joe Cherries.
And I'm your host, COVID-free Beezy, and that makes us the COVID-free Nitpicking Nerds. Video demonetized, worth it. We're back doing actual in-person stuff. If you didn't know, we both almost got COVID. But then, our immune system's too strong to be defeated.
This is my immune system.
The strongest content creators on the planet. I was going to say on YouTube. No, on the planet. Coming in with, what are we actually doing? We're doing top 15 enchantments. But first, got to shout out the Discord. Got to shout out the Patreon. Okay, we're done.
Yeah, and at the end, stick around. I want to actually shout out the Discord a little more at the end of this video. But, so, top 15 enchantments of all time in our personal opinions. And we're not talking about CEDH here. So, let's be clear. This is going to be a little different. This list could be completely different if you do it for CEDH. But we're talking about, power levels 1 through, 9.
Right. So, with that in mind, we'll do the quick honorable mention. We're not going to put this one on the official list, but it's right below because I don't know if it's necessarily better than all these. Carpet of Flowers, green for an enchantment. At the beginning of each of your main phases, if you haven't added mana with this ability this turn, you may add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of islands target opponent controls. It's too all over the place. You can't necessarily pin down what you're going to get. It's not CDH, so everybody's not playing blue. You could have some guy with the only blue deck is this 4-color thing, and they have 2 islands. I mean, even so, it could still be Soul Ring-ish. Guess what? It's number 16. It's honorable mention. Deal with it.
Definite honorable mention because we're not talking about CDH. This is obviously super powerful if you can guarantee you're going to be seizing islands at the table, but you can't do that in every meta.
Number 15.
We have Exploration. It's 1 green for an enchantment. You can play an additional land each turn.
Super simple, super strong. Green, extra land drop. You want to play it in a deck that has card draw. Once you have cards flowing and Exploration in play, you are going to get a ton of advantage out of it.
Yeah, I think another thing that's really important about decks that play Exploration is you want to always be having those extra lands. And it may not be from card draw, or if you might care about extra lands coming into play. If you're playing Omnath type decks, things that care about landfall, that Exploration gets a ton of extra value.
Yeah, so landfall decks, and then it also goes really well in Enchantress decks because they're drawing 1 million cards off these Enchantresses. So having an effect that's 1 mana, possibly draws you a card, and then just lets you deploy these extra lands so you can ramp for free and just stay ahead. Let's just say Exploration, if it said draw card, would be completely insane.
Well, oh my god, that card would be super bonkers. Exploration, number 15 on this list, and one of the strongest enchantments ever printed. It was printed forever ago, it feels like now.
Definitely. Number 14, also a 1-mana enchantment printed forever ago. It's Land Tax, white for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search your library for up to 3 basic land cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library.
So in your Boros decks and in your mono white decks, this card is incredibly good. If you can put it down on turn 1 and you didn't go first, you're just going to get tons of lands. You can filter your deck, thin it out. If you have ways to play extra lands, such as a terrain generator, walking atlas, any of these possible things, it's super awesome.
Yeah, when you're only going to get so many searches, right? When you start playing extra lands, then you run out of searches. You search twice, okay, you're good, right? You're going to get 6 lands that are going to go into play over the course of the game, and all you did was pay a white for this and not go first. That was the cost.
Yeah, exactly. Not going first, super important on this card. It's kind of sad that it does work that way because sometimes you open, you take your opening hand, you look. It's that's a good seven. It's got land tax in here, and you spin the little thing to see who goes first on the Life Linker app. Oh, it's me. Darn it, my card doesn't do anything anymore.
Oh, I thought you glitched for a second. I don't know. I have no idea what just happened. But yeah, it's not even that crazy of a card. It can see rare play outside of Boros and white, but it's super low on the list just because kind of goes in those decks, but when it's in those decks, it's one of the better cards.
Yeah, if you have a ton of ways to play extra lands and a high number of basics, this card also gets a huge boost. Because, again, if you have ways to use those extra lands and you're not just discarding them, then that's when land tax is at its best.
I mean, it also just thins your deck. There's some value. We don't talk about deck thinning because it's non-existent in Commander, almost. But when you get 12 lands out of your deck for no mana, you spent no mana on it, right? But 1 mana. You have 12 less lands in your deck. Well, now you're going to draw spells way more often.
Yeah, thinning out 1, 2, 3, probably even like 5 cards is almost nothing.
Yeah.
But 12 is definitely a reasonable number.
Like more than half your lands once you have lands in play and then lands in your hand.
Yeah, that at that point, I think it's actually worth talking about thinning.
Yes.
Number 13 is Sylvan Library. 1 in the green. On your draw step, you draw 2 additional cards. Then you put 2 back, but you can pay 4 life to keep them in your hand instead. So you can get extra draws here, but you're paying a steep cost of 4 life.
Yeah, we were never huge fans of Sylvan Library. It's not really a card we even play. There's no denying that it's like it can be a powerful card. Basically, you want to either be able to gain life, so you can just say, yep, I'll draw 3 cards a turn for 8 life, which is crazy if you can keep doing it. I just like, as far as it's a 3 mana rearrange the top 3 draw card, like that's not good. So you want to take advantage of it either by your deck being extremely fast to where you don't care. You just want to look at 20 cards before anybody else does, so you win. Which, again, is not super what we're talking about with this, but it's part of it. When you get to upper 7, 8, 9 wants to do that, I think power level.
Sylvan Library, much like Phyrexian Arena, it's very, very good if you can slam it on those early turns. But having it on those early turns is not reliable. If your games of EDH are grinding out and going longer, that's when Sylvan Library is worse. Because if you're playing, let's say you're playing 10-turn games, if you're drawing it on turns 7 through 9, that's not going to be a great card for you.
What does it do right away?
Nothing, exactly. You have to untap with it afterward. The card is very good. Don't get us wrong. Like, some people confuse it and think that we're just like talking about, but I think this card is overrated, and that's the reason that we tend to talk down about it, is because people have it on this high pedestal, and when we start talking about it, it's like, well, maybe look at it like a little bit more as a card that's not broken. It's not. I don't think it's an auto include in your green decks.
I don't think it's a green staple. I don't think it's a green auto include. I don't think it's one of those cards where if you have a focused deck, like let's say elves, this isn't so good that it just goes in your elf deck because it draws cards. In your higher power, sure, it's good. Lantax actually has the same problem. Draw it on turn 20 doesn't really do that much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they both do have similar problems, which is actually why we have Sylvan Library ahead, because at least Sylvan Library untapping once in the late game will be a lot better than untapping once for Lantax in the late game.
Yes, and there's 12 more enchantments still to go.
Yes.
Number 12, Greater Good. 2 green, sacrifice a creature, draw X cards where X is the creature's power, then discard 3 cards.
The first thing I want to mention about this is the Incredibles, obviously.
Needed to be said.
Yeah, obviously it has to be said here. It's the most important part of this card. He says, woman, where's my super suit? Something about the greater good. And then she says, I'm the greatest good you're ever going to get. And we have to mention that.
Right. This is for the greater good. He was talking about this card because it's a free sack outlet. It puts cards in your graveyard and it draws cards and it's free. So if you have a 4/3, you draw 4, discard 3. Now, it's not even from among the cards you draw. I mean, that's impossible to track. But just keep in mind, it's from your whole hand.
Yeah. So you just get to... You put out big old creatures, you draw, you discard. This is usually great in graveyard decks where you want to be throwing things in your graveyard anyway. So it's like if you draw, even drawing 3, discarding 3 is good if you really want your graveyard to be filled with these creatures anyway.
Yeah, if you are looking for a specific creature or if you're looking for a mass reanimation spell, like let's say Living Death, this is the best setup for Living Death in the entire world. You just sack your whole board, draw like 30 cards, discard like 27 cards, let's say. Almost everything. One of them's Living Death, you win.
You don't win, but you win.
You just milled like 30 creatures. I think you're good.
Yeah, you're going to be very good because you're going to be doing some aristocratic things after that. I mean, Greater Good is just a good draw payoff in... It's such a niche card. It's weird because like this doesn't go in a lot of decks, but the decks it does go in, it's insanely strong in.
So you can even use it in like green stompy decks like Gulta. Absolutely eats this card up. They're like, yep, get in my deck because you just have these big threats. If they were to answer them, they don't, and instead you draw 4, 5, 7 cards.
12?
12 of his Gulta, yeah.
Yeah, you play your Gulta out and you have the Greater Good out. You just, if they go to kill your Gulta with like a Swords of Posture, you can just sack it and draw 9 cards essentially because you get to discard 3. Oh no!
And you discard 3 lands, right? You draw, really, it's the full benefit of 12.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah, it's really strong. Up next at number 11, we have Guardian Project. It's 3 and a green. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, draw a card. It has other words, but those don't matter because this is EDH.
It basically says if you're playing Commander and you have a non-token creature enter, you draw. worded perfectly. It's really close to Beast Whisperer. They came out 5 seconds apart.
Yeah, they came out one set apart. And they're both really, really good. If you're looking for an enchantment version where you don't want it to die with all your creatures, this is the way to go. The Beast Whisperer is more tutorable, but Guardian Project is so awesome. Again, this is any deck that's playing tons of like mana dorks. When you want to be taking your mana dorks that are terrible late game and turning them into something else, Guardian Project, perfect for that.
Yeah, it's resilient. It doesn't die to a straight up board wipe. It makes it so that you can overextend because you're not really overextending. All the cards you put out are reflected back in your hand. Just all this stuff adds up, and then I think even in Blink decks, this is better than Beast Whisper because one spell, all right, flicker my team, draw a card for each creature I control for 3 mana.
Yeah, Guardian Project is an ETB, whereas I think Beast Whisperer isn't, right?
It's on cast.
Yeah, Beast Whisperer is on cast. Guardian Project is an ETB, so that's really awesome. It's just they do different things, even though they're very similar.
They're both super good. I mean, if we had to rank cast triggers on creatures, Beast Whisperer might also be number 11. Right?
It's very.
They're on par.
That's very specific. The cast triggers on creatures.
I don't know. I was trying to think of something where he'd actually be number 11.
I don't know.
Maybe elves. Number 11 for elves.
Maybe if we bunch all the Mandorks in one.
Oh yeah. That list number 1, Llanowar Elf. Number 2, Elvish Mystic.
Yeah, the list would not be fun. Moving on to number 10.
It's Song of the Dryads. 2 and a green for an aura. You enchant a permanent, and the permanent is a forest land with no other abilities.
Yes, and it's colorless because lands are colorless. This card is super awesome. It answers anything, and also random thing that it does here is it puts it as a land, so it's not easy to for them to get rid of or interact with.
How do you sacrifice a land? How do you blow up your own land? You're gonna need artifact you're gonna need enchantment removal to get this off your creature or commander, what have you. And if you don't, your commander's gone. Sorry, you don't get to play commander anymore. You get to play 100 card singleton. Yeah. Which is a much worse format.
Yeah, this card can be super annoying, especially if you're in a blue-black deck that just really can't answer something like Song of the Dryad. It's super annoying.
And if you have Feed the Swarm, it's not a good card.
No,
so you really can't answer it with a good card.
Yeah, I mean that's one way to answer it. Feed the Swarm. But that's one way to answer it.
That's the way to answer it, pretty much. There's Cyclonic Rift, but that answers everything, and then it's back in their hand anyway. The only problem with this is it's 3 mana sorcery speed, and we usually don't like that. But the upsides outweigh the downsides.
Yeah, the upsides in this are really crazy. It does leave the commander on the field, and it will come back. But at least the thing I like about Song of the Dryads over, say, an O-Wing effect, because we've talked about this before, is that one Song of the Dryads hits any permanent, which I guess so does the other one. But Song of the Dryads also hits land.
And I'd rather change Urborg and Cabal Coffers into a forest.
Yeah, exactly. So Song of the Dryads can hit any permanent type, and also it doesn't re-ETB if the Song of the Dryads dies. Sure, it's out back in the battlefield, and that could be more relevant if they have a creature that wants to attack right away, but I think that there's more ETBs than creatures that need to attack right away.
If there's a creature that has to attack right away, either it's in play and attacks, or they cast it and then it attacks. I don't know. As soon as your deck cares about... I do know. As soon as your deck cares about auras at all, this card's insane. And you can get real tricky with bringing it back from the graveyard or putting it in play from your deck or your hand because they don't get to see what it targets. And you just go, hey, try to reanimate my Song of the Dryads with Savine's Reclamation. I'm not telling you anything else. It's just going to go somewhere, and then that thing's a forest. They can't respond.
Well, that one's not as tricky. If you do something like a War Gate and search your deck, and you're
X3.
X equals 3. Anyone have any responses? No. Okay, get this. Target your thing. And they're no, you can't respond. It's there.
Yeah, unless there's even mana abilities. There's nothing to do. There's no point where they can do anything. No. So if their commander has some sweet ability and they're kind of holding people hostage and we're game for 3, and they're okay, stop it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it comes to the battlefield, and there is never a point where it is on the battlefield and not attached to a permanent. So you choose the permanent, and then you immediately get priority because the spell is just resolved, and that's what happens after the spell resolves. You, as the active player, get priority. No one else gets priority until you pass priority.
Yeah, it's like Court of Calling for a creature. Once you get something, they can't stop it from entering or stop its static effect just because they don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on, we have Aura of Silence. 1 white. Enchantment and artifacts your opponent's cast cost 2 more to cast. Sacrifice it, destroy target artifact or enchantment.
This thing, there is no answer for Aura of Silence that feels good.
The answer for Aura of Silence that does feel good is in the case where you don't happen to have anything they can blow up. That's like, okay, I don't mind doing this now. But if you have anything on your board, even like
a signet.
What's the like worst artifact? Even like a 1/1 mirror token.
Yeah, you'd rather have it in play, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're playing something that makes mirror tokens, you want mirror tokens.
Right. What it does is it comes down early, and this card is never blank. So it comes down early. It's going to tax every opponent. Certain players, they are now locked out of playing any spells or any spells efficiently, where they're just going to have to not play spells, which is great for us. It's always great when they're not doing things. Or tap out 4 mana for a signet and just pass the turn. It's like they just lost their turn, basically.
Yeah. Grixis decks, non-green decks that are heavily relying on artifacts for ramp are going to be taxed very hard by this.
Enchantresses.
Enchantress decks are going to be taxed incredibly hard. Any artifact deck, I mean, there's a million different types of artifacts. Your Urza decks, your Brutal-Clad decks, anything along those lines, just absolutely going to be taxed to like hell and back.
And what's the floor on this card? The floor is there's an enchantment in play or an artifact that I need to destroy right now. Okay, 1 white, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Late game, you don't have to wait for anything. This card's amazing.
It's a seal of cleansing in play with a tax effect on it.
Yeah, it stays in play longer than it necessarily should, right? Like it's a kill on sight card for some people, but it'll stay in play longer because they don't want to get 2 for 1, and they're just going to wait and put it off and make it worse for themselves. I've seen that happen all too many times.
Actually, an interesting thing about Aura of Silence, I think one of the reasons it might not see as many answers is when you play against artifact decks, the artifact colors aren't good at answering Aura of Silence.
Like red and blue, what are they supposed to do? I mean, any spell that's ever been printed almost can be countered, so that's not a case against this card at all.
Well, yeah, okay. I don't even know why you brought it up.
It's just like, well, I'm red and blue. Like, I can very easily imagine how does red? Like, I say, how does red and blue deal with enchantments rhetorically? And then someone's like, they have counterspells in the comments. Like, well, let's just sign me that right now. But this card's $4. It's so good.
Yeah, this card is incredibly good. If you're not playing it in a white deck, try it out as maybe take out like some sort of artifact or enchantment removal and put this in its place and see how it performs.
Yeah, we're talking like Sylvan Library doesn't seem auto-including. This I could see kind of just putting in a deck. And like if it's white, I think you might just be better with this in your deck.
Yeah, especially if you're like mono white where you're going to be stretching for some playables.
Number 8, Growing Rights of Itlamok. To an agree, when it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature from among them, put it into your hand. The rest go on the bottom. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 more creatures, you transform it into Itlamok, Cradle of the Sun, which is a land that taps for a green, or a green for each creature you control. That's Gaia's Cradle.
Yeah, this is Gaia's Cradle on a budget, but it's not on a budget because this card's like $30.
I think it's $20, and that's still, what, like 1% of the Gaia's Cradle price? Not 1, but, a Gaia's Cradle is $1,200.
Yeah, I don't know what the extra... It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a silly percentage to think about because it's a $20 card, which it's not budget. This card's completely insane though. If you're going wide and you're playing lots of creatures, you play this, you draw a card off it because your deck is probably already super creature heavy.
Yeah.
You get a card, you put it in your hand, and then it just transforms into Gaia's Cradle. If you don't know, Gaia's Cradle is, I think, the best land legal in Commander.
It's
period.
bannably powerful.
Yes.
It is a card we would ban.
Is it the best land in Commander? Is there any card that is close?
I don't think so, but don't quote me on that. I think it's just the best land in Commander.
We're gonna go out on a limb and say it is the best land in all of Commander, and this flips into it. Sure, you have to jump through a hoop or two, but one, the card replaces itself. That's what's something that is super great about Growing Rights of Itlamok. You play it, and it immediately will get you your card back as long as it's in the right deck.
Right. The thing is, there's a tiny window. This can come down on turn 4 and 5 and flip easily. You just need 4 creatures. So there's a tiny window where they could answer it. And even if they do, you just drew a card and they 2 for 1. You 2 for 1 them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they can answer it, they can kill it. That's fine. Those things happen, but they can answer and kill everything.
Yeah, the downside of this, honestly, is it's Gaia's Cradle with suspend 1, but you draw a card. Like, you can't use it right away. What are you supposed to do on your end step? Maybe you can get something done. But it's more like, when you have to untap with it. Yeah,
exactly. Gaia's Cradle it's just so good, and it can't be. I know we're saying Gaia's Cradle because that's what it flips into. The front side is it comes down, it draws a card. We've gone over that, but like what you really want on this is you want it to flip over, and as soon as you get this card to flip over, it becomes the best land in all of Commander.
Yes, if it was just Gaia's Cradle and it was somehow an enchantment, number 1. The tiny downsides and the slight restrictions just bump it down a little bit past the best ones to number 8.
Yeah, exactly. Card is super strong. Number 7, Blind Obedience. 1 and a white. Creatures and artifacts your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. Extort. Extort is whenever you cast a spell, you can pay a white or a black. If you do, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain life equal to the life lost this way.
This card is so much more annoying than it looks.
This card is super good. And I think there's a couple of things that I want to point out to why I think this card is so good. The first thing is it doesn't just hit creatures. There's lots of effects that make your opponent's creatures come in tapped.
They're whatever.
Yeah, and that's whatever. Making creatures come in tapped isn't relevant unless they have haste. Or maybe you're trying to prevent them from blocking. In those two situations are the ways that... But that's not super relevant. Artifacts coming in tapped, though. That's super important for any non-green deck again. Because their artifacts now, like their signets, they now come in tapped. A signet is way worse when it's a diamond.
It slows them all down. It turns every mana rock into a mana rock I wouldn't play. Like if Hedron Archive enter tapped, wouldn't play it. If Soul Ring enter tapped, okay, I still would play it. But every other mana rock.
Yeah, I mean the signets coming in tapped. I mean, I don't play diamonds. Think about it. Diamonds I don't think are very playable in the age. It's because they enter tapped. Signets incredibly playable because they enter untapped.
Yeah, every time an artifact enters tapped, you're denying them that mana. So this is going to deny 5, 6, 10 mana before it goes away. Also, it's 2 mana. So and the fact that it's universal means that it's not the biggest threat at the table. It's always doing something against multiple players, so it's not the highest target for removal. So it sticks around.
Yes, it does. Another thing about the Blind Obedience that should be mentioned is the Extort. This is the most efficient and best way to get Extort onto the battlefield in a spot that's, one, not going to be targeted or killed super easily. It'll get wiped up in wipes, but everything does. But it's so strong. If you haven't played Extort in Commander, it's very good. A note about this card, Extort, though it has black in the reminder text, it does not have black in the cost, so this card can be in non-black or non-black decks.
Its color identity is white only.
Yes, which is strange, and I think Extort is the only ability that's anything like that, but
I think so.
Yeah, but whatever, that doesn't really matter. This card is so good. You just, every time you cast a spell, you put that extra mana in, and you drain each opponent for 1, and you gain 3. You gaining 3 is such use upside here.
So it's a 6-point life swing, and you paid 1 mana that you obviously weren't going to use anyway. That's what Extort is. Just on all your spells, if you can sling a couple spells, you're going to deal 3, 6, 9 damage, and then you're just going to gain 3, 6, 9 life.
Yeah,
it adds up. This card costs you nothing. It's 2 mana.
Yeah, gaining the life back is super crazy. I think this has the good wording. We don't get this wording anymore.
Nope.
And it makes me sad because it doesn't even feel like these cards are like necessarily broken if you give them good wording like this.
Yeah, is this card busted? No, it's just really, really good.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why can't my Zulapur Cutthroat gain me 3 life? Ugh.
Sorry. This brings us to number 6, Aura Shards. 1 green, white for an enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. Holy crap, this is a complete game ender backbreaker against these artifacts and enchantment decks, or any deck that's playing rocks, which is almost every deck.
I would say it's backbreaking. It's not game ending.
Well, it can just stymie their mana forever, and then they can't win. Like if you can't play your spells, you lose.
That's true. Aura Shards is incredibly strong. It comes down, you just destroy as many artifacts and enchantments for each creature you play. I mean, again, this is another high creature count card, but as soon as you have those somewhere between 30 and 40 creatures, suddenly this card's just insane. Maybe you're making tokens. That's also good. You make 3 tokens with 1 card. You get to destroy 3 artifacts and enchantments. As soon as this destroys 1, you already got your 1-for-1. It's the next 2, 3. It just keeps going until they eventually enter it.
I think your count was wrong. Just because you have a commander, the floor is 1. The feel amazing case scenario is 2, and everything else is gravy. I think your creature count can be 20. You can play this and you'll be just fine. Especially if your commander is not super expensive. Just the only thing you want to do with this, the only play pattern that I would suggest is play it when you have a guaranteed trigger.
Yeah. I think I'm going to disagree with you on that. I do think that you want to have a 30 creature count or 30 to 40 creature count. I think you only want to play this in a high concentrated creature deck, personally.
I think any scenario, like if your deck can play this and then have 2 creatures enter, it's amazing. Yeah. If you can do that with less creatures because you're making tokens or because your commander only costs 1 or 2, I think you should still play it.
I would say, I would say yeah, if you again, yeah, like he said, you want to do that, and I think high creature contacts can do that much more consistently. Also, obviously, token decks are your creature count might be like 10, but if all your cards
basically
make token,
40,
yeah, those are creatures too. Yeah, they're basically the same thing. This card, either way, extremely good as long as you can take advantage of it right away. You don't want to play this and pass. That's never going to feel too good.
Plenty of people call for this card to be banned. I think that's ridiculous, but they call for it to be banned because it annihilates them because it just has such good potential.
Who call for this to be banned?
All right, on to number 5. We're in the really, I think these ones are the really insane ones now. So this is Pattern of Rebirth, 3 and a green for an aura. When the enchanted creature dies, you search your library for a creature card, and you just put it right into play. It's right into play. That's where you want it.
Yep. So you just throw this on a creature. This suffers from the same thing as any aura. If it's responded to, is always the big problem with these type of auras. But again, when this one gets onto a creature, it's absolutely insane. You play this in decks with sack outlets, so you want to make sure they can't just source the Polysteer guy because it doesn't matter because you'll just tap your high market and sack it anyway.
Yes, high market is weirdly the one I thought of too, even though I don't know why we both just thought of high market, but this is 4 mana, so it's cheap enough. It's not this late game bomb that you have to play on turn 12. You can play it on turn 3 on your stupid mana dork, and now probably it's not getting swords if you untap with it. There's plenty of ways to sacrifice it, and let's be real. Most of the time, this is going to work. It's 4 mana for your best creature at instant speed when you sacrifice it.
Yeah, exactly. You just go get any of your big stupid things. There's a million of these big stupid things. There's Eldrazi. There's big giant worms if you really want to go for big stupid power.
And that's in the low power. If you want to go higher power to where you're trying to win, this is a 1 card plus a sack outlet. You just win. So you can get Protean Hulk with it. And when Protean Hulk dies, obviously you win the game through some various loops. But you can also get Boonweaver Giant. So if Pattern of Rebirth is in play, you sack the creature, you can get Boonweaver Giant, which is going to bring Pattern of Rebirth from the graveyard onto Boonweaver Giant. Then you sack Boonweaver Giant to get Karmic Guide, which gets back Boonweaver Giant, and it does the same loop as Protean Hulk, but the difference is you can just play Boonweaver Giant and go find Pattern of Rebirth, and then you still win. You can get either one first. So there's like different combos and crazy stuff you can do. This is I want to say this is the least expected on the list.
Yeah, I think this card's super strong. It wins the game in the right decks. And if not going to win the game, then it's going to get you an insane amount of value. Again, it's your best creature for whatever the situation calls for. Again, this is another, you need a high creature count deck, but as soon as your creature count's high and you're doing it right and you can put this on easily, boom, great deck.
How much do you think this card is?
$13.
It is $3. It is the cheapest card on the entire list.
Wow, I am shocked actually.
It's because it's so good.
Yeah, we have it as number 5.
All right, now we're sort of cooling down and we're getting to the more predictable ones, but this card is completely insane. There's a debate as to whether it's better than a certain other card on this list. We'll get to that, I guess, during the next one. But spoiler alert, you can never pay the 4.
Yeah, exactly. You can really never pay the 4 on this. So basically, you put this down. If you do it early, it stymies them from playing like Soul Rings or their mana ramp. They might want to hold back on those. You usually keep it around for a turn or two, depending on what your hand looks like, and then you go crazy. You play this late game too. 4 is still so much, even in the late game. If they cast two non-creature spells in their turn, there's no way they're paying 8.
You untap. You have 10 mana. You cast a 4 mana spell. Do you want that to be the only spell you cast this turn? No. You have to double or triple spell to get ahead and stay at parity, at least in these late game scenarios where everything's just ramping up and the game's going to end in a few turns. You're not going to be like, I'll tap out so you don't get 1 card. This thing, you only have to keep it around for 3 turns. It doesn't matter that it's cumulative upkeep. It's good early. It's good middle game. It's great late. It's going to be secretly the reason you win a lot of games.
Yeah, and I think the reason that this card is, it's so good. It doesn't matter. Again, doesn't matter when you play it. You put this thing down on the battlefield. You can just never pay for it. It doesn't matter how much you've ramped or how much you've gone crazy. 4 is still an insane amount of mana for each card to stop. It's like, I want to cast my Nature's Claim. You want to pay 5 for your Nature's Claim?
Right, and that's the floor of this card is somebody answers it and you get a 2 for 1, and you paid 1 mana, and they probably didn't pay 1 mana for whatever their answer was. Also, some people kind of give you the, you play Mystical More on turn 1. Well, I'm just not going to play my rocks, and I'm going to play creatures instead. It's like, okay, you've made worse plays, and I only had to pay 1 or 2 or 3 mana for it. for the whole first 3 turns.
Yeah, it's exactly. If it prevents them from putting out their Soul Ring earlier, then that's stymieing them on a couple mana.
Like 6 mana.
I mean, easily. And that's going to be an advantage for you, which is just helpful.
Yeah, don't haha people when they play Mystic Remora. They're not the enemy, Just blow it up or, lose to it. That's cool.
Have you ever been ha-ha'd before?
Definitely. I have definitely had people go like, I'm just not going to play anything. And I'm like, okay, that's the card.
Yeah.
It's a lose-lose.
Yeah. I mean, if my opponents don't play anything, it's also, that's good for me. There's nothing on your board, and I don't know, I'll take this slow down.
I'm ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's like standstill. It's like, all right.
Or even worse, one player ha-has you, and the other ones don't. And they just are super behind.
Standstill.
Like the person to your left just is like, not going to play anything. And then the next person's like, yeah, you can draw 2 cards.
Standstill's a miserable EDH card.
It's pretty stupid.
Well, I mean, it's so miserable. Everyone else draws 3 cards except for the guy who chooses to cast a spell. No, that one feels awful. Don't play that card.
No. All right, number 3, Standstill. Just kidding. It's Rhystic Study. 2 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if they don't pay 1, you can draw a card.
This is very similar to the last one, but this time it's any spell they cast and they only have to pay 1. They will more often pay the 1, but again, this is triggering off for creatures. There's lots of creatures in EDH.
There's no upkeep.
Yeah, I mean, basically, what if this was a tax? Even if this was just a tax effect that said all spells your opponents cast cost 1 more, that's strong. But it's like, no. If they don't want to pay that 1 more, you get a card instead. Okay.
This reminds me a lot of Fact or Fiction, where that card's great if it just says, look at the top 5, draw your 2 worst, or draw your 3 best or your 2 best, right? This is similar. If they make the wrong decision about what's important, if they say, oh, mana is more important, so you can have cards, and that's not right, you're going to win. You're going to bury them if they let you draw 2 or 3 cards a turn and one person just ignores the Rustic Study. And then sometimes cards are more important, but you have no way of knowing that, so they pay extra for their spells and they're going slower, and then you just kill them first.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say about Rustic Study and Mystic Remora is I think they're lame cards. They're not fun. They're not cool. They're just very, 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 very good. And they do what they need to do incredibly efficiently. I mean, Rhystic Study sticks around and it's taxi 1 on everything. That's, like I said, it basically says spells cost 1 more, or every time you can't pay that, well, sure, you can still cast your spell, but they draw a card, and that's way better than you paying 1 mana. And then Mystic Remora, you can't even pay that almost ever.
Yeah, Rhystic Study, definitely a higher case of they can just answer it right away. Like, all right, pay the 1, answer it. And like, no, that's not too great for you. But if it sticks out, it's no upkeep, so that's got the advantage over it. It's any spell, there's another advantage. And it's just annoying. Yeah,
I don't like these. I honestly think that these cards are unfun. I like that people make a good point. Why Rhystic Study would be a perfect white card? It makes so much sense to be a white card, but it's just a blue card.
I mean, I'm not going to fault like early 2000s Wizard, and I don't care what color this card is. It's a staple in whatever color you printed in.
I would give it. I ban it and give it a color shifted one.
I don't think they're bannable.
No,
they're just really good.
No, I agree. I'm being like, we ban Rhystic Study.
Yeah.
And we make Rhystic taxes.
I think the Rhystic part is the blue.
Taxes study.
Life gain study. I don't know.
Taxes study, and we put that in the format. Number 2, Smothering Tithe. This card is insane. 3 and a white. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they may pay 2. If they don't, you get a treasure token.
Well, now it's a tough call sometimes whether you want to pay 1 or let them draw a card. It is not a tough decision of whether you want to pay 2 or give them a Lotus Petal. Like, each individual transaction is so inconsequential. And then, oops, they have 8 treasures and they're going to win.
Yeah, I don't. Again, this is another card. It's in the same category as the last 2, where these cards aren't fun. I think all 3 of them are miserable EDH cards, but oh my God, are they good? I mean, they are insane. Smothering Tithe is better than the other 2. It's weird because you would think getting card advantage would be better, but the mana advantage provided by Smothering Tithe is so insane. It's not a reasonable amount is what it is. You go around the table once, you have 3 extra mana your next turn. If anybody casts any type of draw card, maybe you just have like 8 extra mana. This card is so stupid.
Yeah, if they don't have an answer to it is when this really gets bad. If they do have an answer to it, you're going to get 1, 2, or 3 treasures and still feel pretty good. If they don't answer it, they kind of want to find an answer, but what does that require? More treasures! So you can ramp out some kind of crazy X spell, or even just slam your 6-drop 2 turns ahead of schedule, or with counterspell backup, or slam 2 6-drops in a turn and just bury people in card advantage, especially if the cards you're ramping out draw cards. You got everything going on. It's over.
Yeah. My problem with Smothering Tithe is that every single time I play it, it dies. And every single time my opponents play it, nobody kills it.
Yeah, this is the real problem with Smothering Tithe. It's not fair to Joe.
I swear to God, I've played Smothering Tithe plenty of times.
I get so lucky with it. I can't say anything.
It dies all the time. I've seen our friend Eric go crazy with it. I've seen Ken go crazy with it. I've seen you go crazy with it. Me, I play it and it dies immediately. It never gets me a treasure. Sometimes I've even had play it, pass, they untap and kill it on their upkeep. Like, are you kidding me?
I was so ready for that treasure. Yeah, Smothering Tithe I think is slightly better than the other two. This is of course in the slower, 1 to 9 power, not 10. But card's great. I think it is just it suddenly makes the game a lot shorter. You realize that this game is not going to end on turn 10. It's going to end on turn 7 if we don't kill this.
I'm mad. I hate it. I'm so mad about it. It never works for me.
And number 1, if you know this channel at all, then you know the number 1 enchantment in all of Commander is Necropotence. Black, black, black. Pay 1 life. Exile a top card of your library face down. At the end of your turn, it goes back into your hand. And then if you would discard, you have to exile the card instead, and you skip your draw step. This card is the only one on this list that we would just straight up ban.
Only thing you said wrong there, it's not an exile instead, it's a trigger.
Actually.
Yes, actually. So Necropotence is completely insane. And the reason we were talking about, we're like, oh, is this the best one? It's like, yeah, it's not close because this is the only one that's bannable. The other ones are all, I think, Rustic Study, Mystic Remora, and Smothering Tithe are 3 of the most annoying cards in Commander. Do I think they're bannable? No, absolutely not. Do I think Necropotence is bannable? Absolutely.
I definitely question why this card's in the format, looking at what cards are banned. There's a couple ways to play Necropotence. There's a fair way, and then there's the I'm going to win right now way. So the fair way is you're going to play 2 to 4 spells every turn, and the Necropotence is going to say draw up to 7 at the end step. So you don't draw 1 card per turn, you draw like 4 or 5. And then the I'm going to win right now is, all right, I have a combo in my deck, and I'm not really under any pressure. I'll draw 20 cards.
Yeah.
What? For 3 mana?
Yeah, I play Necropotence the fair way. I almost never do it the other way. I never do the 20 life thing, like pay all my life.
I think it's really close to unbeatable either way.
Yeah.
If they don't kill it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to tap with this for 1 turn, okay. First thing, it doesn't matter if you don't tap with it, because if it hits the battlefield.
Yeah, there's no way to stop it once it's there.
Yeah, exactly. You put those cards aside, and then on your end step, they go to your hand anyway. It's super strong. You can just the thing is, if they go answer it away, that's probably when you go, okay, now I'll pay 10.
Yeah.
I'll take my pay 10 life, draw 10 cards for 3 mana. How is that card legal in Commander? Seriously.
I really don't get it. It's one of the most egregious ones. It's right up there with Mana Crypt and Soul Ring and Necropotence, where it just doesn't gel with the format. You have too much life for this to be, if we start at 30, maybe. I don't know. It's still one of the best cards in the format, though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Necropotence just completely runs away for the game. If you didn't notice, the top here, card advantage, mana advantage.
Yeah.
The top 4 all
top
do.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
Pattern Rebirth is crazy mana advantage.
Yeah, you're right. It is crazy mana advantage. Necropotence is by far and away the best one of these. Smothering Tithe is not a close number 2. No.
I think it's safe to say, let me know if you agree, Smothering Tithe, Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, Pattern of Rebirth are amazing. Necropotence is just broken. Yeah, I agree completely with that. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's not this isn't a close list for where 1 and 2 are it could have gone either way. No, Necropotence is far and away just too good for this format, in our opinion. This card is bonkers. It's funny, this card got reprinted in Eternal Masters a while back, and it was $4 or $5, and for a long time. And funny enough, Phyrexian Arena, we always made fun of it.
Phyrexian Arena has been $10 to $13 since that day.
Yeah.
It hasn't really gone up or down. It's stayed that same price. Necropotence is $30, $40 now?
Yeah, it's slowly crept up above, and we're just why is Phyrexian Arena more expensive than Necropotence? Even the one drawback you could, the one realistic drawback is the black cost. I think Necropotence is free roll in 3 colors, 2 colors, or 1 color. It's not hard. If you have to wait until turn 5 to play your busted draw 20 card, you're still gonna win.
Yeah, I admit, Necropolis has become a card I just don't play much. I play it in my Liza deck because it's a life gain deck, and there's a theme, and it fits with it. I can justify it in that deck. My Tibble deck, I didn't put it in. I intentionally didn't put it in. It doesn't really fit the theme of the deck. I just want to do fun, kooky things with that deck. I don't want to just play this stupid, insane draw spell that's too good for the format.
Yeah, we're not saying don't play it. Jam it in your deck. Like, this list is literally like, hey, if you like haven't heard of Necropolis or something, it's the best enchantment in the whole format. So totally play it if you want. Honestly, it doesn't bug me when people play these cards. It's just they're really good, and at most you could say it bugs me that it's in the format, but it really doesn't. Like, I don't lose sleep at night. It's just like, I think the format would be better without it. It's still the best format ever.
Yeah, Necropotence is just, it's just like the Necropotence and Soul Ring and Mana Crypt are like little stains on the carpet. I mean, they're not bugging me too much, but they're there, and I definitely notice them sometimes. And you're like,
I wish we would buy a Swiffer, but you never do.
Yeah, no, kind of like, so there's a stain on the carpet. Okay, it's annoying, it's there, but what you can do, and this is me not putting it in my deck, is put the table over it so you can't see the stain.
I was gonna say,
but then your friend comes over and they move the table and like, the stain's still there.
Your friend brought their own stain. There's no table covering their stain. Or what you could do is, since this is the end of the video and we can just ramble, you can take the carpet and sweep it under the rug so no one sees it. You have a bigger rug.
You have a carpet and a rug?
Yeah, but you just sweep the carpet right under the rug.
Those are synonyms for each other. You put the rug under. It's an infinite rug that rolls under itself.
I guess you could just roll it under itself.
All right.
That was the video.
Yeah, I want to do one shout out before anything else here. I want to talk about the Discord. Our Discord is a place to come and play EDH. I want to be clear. Like, it has been so awesome, the community that is building around there. If you're looking for a place to play EDH, come to the server. We do a ton of spell table. A lot of people do cockatrice. Mm-hmm. They do other things. I'm not advocating cockatrice. Sorry, Wizards. The people do that on our server. I'm not in control of them.
People play the card cockatrice. It's a common misconception. People are playing that card. It's very good in this meta.
Yeah, spell table is the one of the biggest way people play. They all use different stuff and different ways of playing. I advise you to, if you are looking for
a play group that is friendly,
yes,
and awesome, the Discord's free to join. So we're just saying, hey, it's free for you. We're not even shilling or anything. Just come and play EDH. You don't even have to talk to us.
There's an active amount of there's a lot of people who are active in the Discord. I think actively for playing EDH there's about 30 to 40 people who actively play like weekly.
There's probably more that we don't know.
Yeah, that's also possible.
Plenty of play groups, people welcoming. They're like, hey, you guys gonna get more Commander players? Yes, we're doing it right now.
Yeah, there's literally tags and everything, and people just go into, there's a gaming channel, they just go in there like at spell table, anyone want to play? That's all the time. I mean, that's a very common thing. It's cool.
So we can also support us. You don't have to go to the Discord or anything. You can become a patron. You don't even have to do that. You can go to the link in the description, takes you to TCG Player, support local game stores, go to the search bar, navigate to what you want, buy the order, and then when you check out, TCG Player through, I believe it's Moon Technology, will give us money.
Yeah, they use Moon Technology. We didn't steal that from another YouTuber. It's our original idea.
And now we're getting sued.
Yes. I do want to point out another thing. If you would like perks in that Discord, you can just go over to patreon.com like BC said. But you head over to patreon.com, you become a poopy baby. Special shout outs to all of the people who have already done that.
I think they've probably been on screen.
No, they just started.
Just now. Wow, that's really late. We still have to ramble.
Yeah, they're scrolling on the screen now. Actually, I've learned how to speed it up if I really wanted to.
Oh yeah, because in our we'll get to the tidbit right now. We had to social distance for a while because we got exposed to someone who was had COVID positive, COVID. YouTube demonetized this. Get that out of the way now. I don't need to make money off this. We couldn't meet up, so I had to record the video and then like send it to Joe, and then he had to edit it. And it was super painful. The Lightning Greaves and the 100 Facts.
Yeah, the Lightning Greaves video, it went pretty fast. That one wasn't too bad to edit. Then the 100 Facts, I remember BZ recorded that on Saturday, and I started working on Saturday, and I'm like, oh yeah, we'll have this out Monday, no problem. Then I worked 3 straight days of 10 hours at least. And I was like, holy crap, that video took so much longer than I thought.
100 is a big number. I had so much fun with that. That was one of our big projects.
I think that's one of our funniest videos. People loved the comedy in the video. Both the Grave Titans dying. I've had many. I've heard. I got compliments on the crossing out the artist.
Yeah, my little quips and just a bunch of different stuff. We meshed pretty well on that one.
Yeah,
if you want more, definitely let us know. We could easily make more. I mean, not easily, but we can make more.
Maybe not facts videos. Facts are tough. I must say that video, research wise,
it was fun.
Other than best card from each set probably took more time than that, and the one I'm working on now is taking more time than both of them.
Mm-hmm. That would be Banana Split. We're not code naming 100 Facts or
100 Facts was Banana.
100 Facts was Banana Split. Confirmed. If anyone's trying to track this in a spreadsheet, apple pie. Best card from each set. What was this? Blueberry.
Banana Split.
Banana Split was 100 Facts. So 2 big projects out of the way. There's a third one coming down the pipeline.
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake. Just cheesecake.
Cherry cheesecake. Cherry's secret cheesecake.
Are we done yet? This is like 20 minutes.
I don't know. Is the thing in the middle? I can't see it. Look at it.
I think it's done.
It's gone. Yeah, it doesn't. BC's just pointing. I refuse. I'm getting mad at BC now. This is getting to be ridiculous. He doesn't get to do that until I say it. Peace out, Tribe Scout.
Finger guns.
They're back, baby, and we're back.
Demonetized.